personal property?
From what I've seen of Rhodesian resolution fortitude, I believe that they would be the first and foremost to do this.
In your opinion, just how possible is invasion, and what means would Mr. Wilson have of justifying such action?
Well, the first part of the question, the possibilities, and it's a possibility, a remote one, I believe. And the more unified and determined we are seen to be, and this is something that's increasing every day, the less that, or rather the more that possibility fades into the realm of improbability. But as regards the justification, of course, when somebody is determined to do something of this sort, it's perfectly possible he could try to manufacture an incident. I believe that this is already being done. I think it's generally known that the tone of the broadcasts which come from Zambia, for instance, are ones designed to incite every sort of insurrection and confusion among the African population. The fact that we've got the Central African Relay Station sited in Bechuanaland also beaming propaganda against us must be designed to the same ends. So if he could produce a situation which he could justify as an intervention on the basis of restoring law and order, that would be what he would be looking for. But, of course, I think our forces of law and order are fully in control of the situation. I think it is unlikely, but we must not lose sight of what his policy may become.
You did mention during your address the fact that certain left-wing elements in Britain have a campaign designed to reach this end. Could you elucidate on this?
Yes, and it's clearly, or rather it's very clear to us who examine the press of large sections of the whole world every day, that the left-wing elements of the London press are starting a carefully calculated campaign designed to condition the British public to the acceptance of force and intervention in Rhodesia under certain circumstances. I think this is very clear indeed. We've also had considerable discussions with members of Parliament from Great Britain who've been out here, and I think if one looks at the statements made by Humphrey Barclay and others, it's abundantly clear that they are very much in favour of action of this sort. They've openly said so.
What chance of success do you give these left-wing elements? I would like to put it to you this way. Judging if one can from this distance, the overseas public is very badly informed as to the correct state of affairs here in Rhodesia, and in the main they generally and sincerely believe that the country is on the point of collapse. Now, what are you doing to overcome this?
Well, let me take the first part of it first. I think that's true. This is the greatest danger in the whole issue, that the information and the deductions which they arrive at from information on the British government and Harold Wilson in particular are grossly inaccurate and mislead them into all sorts of beliefs that are entirely inaccurate. But as regards what we do about it, of course we have elements of the British press who are not hostile to us, some who are very friendly. These we keep feeding every sort of information on this country. And again, I would refer to the visit of various members of Parliament from England, which I frankly have welcomed, and I think most other people here have, because it has given the clear the possibility of them seeing precisely what the situation is in this country, and they are, under present circumstances, possibly the best medium that we have got for putting across this point of view in the place where the power lies, and that, of course, is the House of Commons. And I think this has been very valuable.
Now, I believe you were, excuse me, accused of brainwashing a certain member of the House of Commons who was recently out here.
Yes, Harold Wilson in the Commons yesterday paid me the dubious compliment of saying that I was a highly competent brainwasher. Well, that may be so, may not be, and I don't know. But as I said earlier today, my difficulty is not in the context of these members of Parliament who've been here, who've been on the whole eminently sensible with a few notable exceptions, but in the context of the British government and its whole attitude and the conclusions it comes to on this issue. My difficulty has been to find the brains in order to watch them.
Now, Mr. Wilson has made much play of an allegation that the armed forces and the police and civil service have not been prepared to carry out orders given to them by the Rhodesian government. Could I have your comments on this?
Yes, and it's, of course, completely absurd and without any foundation whatsoever. I defy him to give us a single authenticated example of where either a civil servant or a member of the armed forces has failed to carry out his duty as directed in the policy of the present government.
There have been instances, I understand, when certain officers have been offered what one might almost call bribes in order to defect. Would you comment on that?
Yes, I would go the whole way with that. Have definitely been offered bribes. The tremendous advantage that would have accrued to Harold Wilson had he been able to subvert any one of our senior civil servants or army commanders to his cause is so great that I'm perfectly certain that these gentlemen would simply have had to have named their prices in order to get whatever they want. But it's interesting in this connection that certain senior civil servants remained behind in London after UDI and on instructions of this government, and they were offered every sort of blandishment and bribe to defect. But every one of them are back here in Rhodesia fighting the battle alongside the rest of us, and no praise is high enough for the people of the administration for the way in the wholehearted way in which they've tackled the battle that we're in.
Minister, finally, there is one point I would like to put to you. It doesn't concern your address earlier on, but perhaps you might answer it for me. In an article today, the New York Herald Tribune commented that Mr. Smith's offer to negotiate with Mr. Wilson was proof that economic sanctions were in fact working here in Rhodesia. And it went on to say that Mr. Smith had offered too little, too late, and that Mr. Wilson's statement in the Commons last night was a rejection of Mr. Smith's offer.
Well, my reaction to that is that I know of no offers made by the Prime Minister to the British government, and I am quite convinced that such offers don't exist at all. And as regards the belief that Rhodesia or the government is weakening in its resolution because of the effect of sanctions, I think the very reverse is undoubtedly the case, that the effect of sanctions is to bring Rhodesians closer together, to harden their resolution and their determination to go through this, whatever Mr. Wilson or anybody else may think about it.
From your point of view, as the man responsible, ministerial responsibility for information, you must have your hand very much on the pulse of the country. Would you just very briefly like to comment on Rhodesia today?
Rhodesia, at this particular time, is going through a tremendous metamorphosis. I'd say it's even more than halfway to achieving that metamorphosis from a colony or self-governing colony, call it what you will, into a sovereign, independent nation in every sense of the word.
Minister, thank you very much indeed.
The officer administering the government is critically appointed, together with his wife, to go start a 3-day meet the people, see the country. Our cameras will look there on this first day.
Accompanied by the District Commissioner from Dundee, Mr. A.